The longer you wait, the stronger the old version of you gets. You don't want to be the old version of you. Most of us here are over 40. What do you want the last half of your life to look like? 1 in 3 women end up in a nursing home. Would you rather take the time to do things right, so that instead of using your retirement savings to pay for a nursing home? Or would you rather use your retirement savings to travel with your family, spend time with them, do the things you've always wanted to do? Well, welcome back to the Metabolism and Menopause podcast, where we help you understand this new body of yours. Now that you've gone through some hormonal changes, or maybe you're past menopause now, those past fat loss strategies just really aren't cutting it. And so now it's time to learn how to work with your body, not against it, so that you can unlock your fat burning pathways, you can get your energy and confidence back. And today's episode, I'm actually sharing a training that I did with the women in our coaching program. We talked about how to make decisions for success, how to ensure that you are actually going to reach the goals that you have, that you are going to be who you want to be at 80. Because you're not going to accidentally end up thriving and strong and fit. But how do we make the decisions now to ensure that we are actually getting to where we want to be? Because we all have good intentions, right? But how do we ensure that that happens? So I hope you enjoy this training. It's a short one. I think it's only 20 minutes long. But it was one that the ladies absolutely enjoyed. And I just thought I have to share it with everyone. Okay. So today, we are talking about decision-making for success. This is something that has been coming up for me a lot, just in conversation with people when I am talking to, some of our clients, when I'm talking to people in Instagram and Facebook, other coaches. And I was at this event this past week. I was speaking at an event and talking to some other coaches as well and helping them. And a big theme that is coming up is decision making and what that really looks like, and how do we grow and how do we make the decisions that we want to make. And there's kind of 4 parts that I want to talk to or speak to about this. And so whenever we're making a decision, we're not just making a decision to do one thing, we're also killing off the version of ourselves that is not those things. And so it's not just, I'm going to do this now. It's I'm also no longer this. So like when you decide to give, to be a generous person, you decide to kill off the version of yourself that was a selfish person, right? Who wasn't generous. When you decide to, be a healthy person, we are killing the version of ourselves that perhaps we're not as healthy. When we decide to be open-minded, growth-minded, we're also killing off the version of ourselves that is maybe closed-minded or, not open to change. So it's not just, oh, I'm making this decision now. It's you're actively making a decision to be someone different. The choices that we're making aren't just habits, they're identity chisels. They are what the you that maybe is hoarding stuff, is waiting, is hesitating, is resentful. That version dies every time you choose to act in alignment with the values that you have or the values that you want to have. So each act of generosity, for example, or gratitude is a weapon against that lesser nature of yourself. So you cannot become your future self while dragging your former self behind you. Okay. We need to break those chains, those things that are holding us back. We let go of what is good to make room for what is better. That is my mantra for this year is let go of what is good to make room for what is better. And that can be scary because we don't want to let go of the good thing, the comfort thing, the thing that feels safe. But when we do, it is like you have been pressing on the accelerator and it's just the brakes spin on. And then all of a sudden it's like the brake releases and you can just take off and you can accelerate and grow and become this person that you want to be. And you can start achieving and acting in the way that you actually want to act, because we always act in accordance as to what we believe to be true about ourselves. If you believe to be yourself to be an impatient person, you're probably always going to act impatient and not patiently, right? If you believe yourself to be lazy, you're probably not going to be the kind of person that decides to be active because you identify with being XYZ, right? So if I identify with being someone who is shy, I'm always going to act shy because I'm always going to act based on what I believe to be true about myself, right? So we have to change that aspect of things, and that comes from the decisions and actions that we take. And so that brings me into gratitude versus resentment. This is a very big daily battle. It's hard because some days you're reminded of the struggle, you're reminded of your losses, you're reminded of the things or people that are no longer here. right? And that's really hard because some days it hits really hard where you just want to be in that old version of yourself. You want to have the life that you used to, have more memories with those people that maybe aren't here, right? But when we decide to be grateful, you decide to kill off the version of yourself that is resentful. And gratitude can't coexist with resentment. Gratitude actually ends up replacing it. You don't want to wait for circumstances to change to be grateful. Gratitude ends up being this discipline. It's not a reaction. I'm going to do a whole podcast on gratitude actually, because there are studies that will blow your mind on what it has, how it can affect your body, your brain. It's insane. But like, we want to be grateful. We want to practice gratitude, and it can feel so lame, so boring, so like underrated. It's like, or overrated, right? We're kind of like, whatever, telling me to be grateful, big deal, right? But the thing is that resentment thrives in delay and in comparison. So when we're resentful, we tend to live in the past. We tend to delay our actions. It makes it harder to make decisions. We live by comparison. That doesn't feel good, right? When we practice gratitude, we are thriving in the present and active choices. I am actively choosing to find that silver lining. Complaining kills gratitude. And so when you catch yourself complaining, try to like correct that right away. And so I'll give the example of when I was flying to Orlando this week, and I put it in the one-to-one client group chat. But some of you aren't part of that, so I want to share here, or maybe you didn't hear it. But it was funny because we did a whole thing on detours last week. And so we were flying to Orlando, myself, and I was supposed to meet my friend. We had a flight booked together. And so what happened was I woke up in the morning, my flight was already delayed 2 hours. I was going to miss my connection in Denver. So I swapped my flight to the 5:30 or 6 o'clock flight, whatever it was, instead of the 1:30. My delayed flight somehow gets in early. We were supposed to land 2 hours later or something. It was only an hour and a half later. And then my connecting flight, my original one at 1:30, was now delayed by 45 minutes to an hour. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can totally do it. So I got on the standby list. And I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have changed it, but whatever. I'm grateful. I'm here. I'm still going to get there tonight no matter what. It's fine. So I'm waiting by standby, have a great conversation with my friend that's flying out there as well. He gets on the plane. I do not. And I was like, oh, dang. Oh, well, again, I have a big faith. So I was like, God just didn't want me on this plane. It's fine. I know I'm going to get on the next plane in 4 hours. So I go, I have a great lunch. And then there's also Voodoo Donuts. And anyone who knows me knows I freaking love myself a good donut. It is my favorite dessert of all time. So I got myself a donut. I got to FaceTime with my son and my husband, because if I had been on that plane, I actually wouldn't be able to FaceTime with my family at all that day. So it worked out. I get on the plane. It's a little bit delayed. I land at 12:30. My friend texts me and goes, hey, how was your flight? And I go, good, we just landed. Turns out his flight circled for an hour around Orlando because there was thunder and lightning and they could not land. So they got diverted to Tampa because they were running out of fuel. And so then he had to take an Uber from Tampa to Orlando, and he actually got to the hotel an hour and a half later than I did because of the delay. And so it was funny because I was practicing gratitude even though before I knew this. So I was like, God did me a solid. He did not want me to get on that plane. And so it was actually a less stressful flight because I would have had to go take an Uber to the airport to pick up my rental car. It would have been a whole thing. So in the end, that frustration that I was having ended up being a really good thing, right? And so just trying to practice gratitude through that stuff. And so some days are going to be easier than others, right? The passing of my mom, so hard. I should not have lost her as young as I did. And I wish the book that I'm writing right now around perimenopause and health and nutrition and the importance of doing this the right way, how it can actually support avoiding cancer diagnosis in the future and things like that. And I wish someone would have written this book for my mom. And so it sucks. I have a lot of resentment around the doctors not taking care of her the way that they should, ignoring her complaints when it probably could have been prevented, not taking me seriously in the hospital, resenting not taking enough time with her, not enjoying the last Christmas together that we had. There's a lot of resentment and grief and regret, right? But I choose to look at it more from a gratitude standpoint in that I got to spend a lot of time with my mom and have the best relationship with her that most people just wish they could have with parents. I had, 3 weeks with her in the hospital, 2 of them where she was conscious and she was able to tell me everything. I was able to share with her. There's nothing that I didn't get to tell her. There was nothing she didn't get to tell me. And that's a big deal for me. And so taking that like resentment, that grief, all of those things and trying to find that silver lining, that gratitude is really, really important. And we have to find that in all the things that we do and find that grateful, that gratitude wherever you can. And so reflecting on like, what are you choosing to kill off today through gratitude? Is it like, forgiving certain people, not holding on to, any anger you might have towards someone? Is it, allowing yourself to be this better version of yourself, to be here longer term for your health, all of those things? You have to decide what am I being grateful for today? The other thing and that helps you with your decision making, when you are grateful and you're in a good mindset, you make way better decisions than when you're angry, when you're emotional, when you're in the middle of grief, when you're upset, right? Like, who makes a good decision when they're angry and then doesn't regret it later? Literally no one. So trying to avoid that and focusing on gratitude first, really, really important. And I mentioned on the last call, like when I get overwhelmed or it just feels like I can't handle things, I just take a minute, I do some deep breathing, I calm myself down, because if you're in that heightened state, it's very hard to make good decisions, right? And so when I'm doing that, I also like pray through it personally, but you could, do some prompts to yourself, whatever you want to go through, or affirmations that you say. And I always tell myself, like, God does not give me anything that I cannot handle. And I once prayed for this. It just looks differently than what I was anticipating it to look like, right? The next one is urgency matters. Delaying good is often lost good. So for example, going back to the generosity piece, being urgent in your decisions in giving. Do not wait to do something when you know it is the right thing to do. Like when you want to give someone a compliment, give them that compliment. When you know it is the right thing to do, don't avoid doing it. Like try and do it now, because health journey or not, sometimes then we don't get that opportunity, right? It passes by us. And the longer that you wait, this is one of my favorite things that I've ever read, ever. The longer you wait, the stronger the old version of you gets. And you don't want to be the old version of you. You want to be confident. You want to be fit. You want to be healthy. You want to be stable in mood and grateful and enjoy time with your family and be where your feet are and doing things that matter for you, right? Like most of us are here is because we have something that we want to change. There's an old version of self that we no longer want to be, but the longer that you wait to make decisions, the longer and stronger that old version of you gets to hang around for. And it's going to be really hard to kick it, right? Actually, I want to pull up a couple others that I had written down that I really, really like, that just really spoke to me. That might also speak to you too. Let me just pull it up here, because I liked it. So the longer that you wait, it gives doubt a stage and courage a muzzle. It gives your comfort zone time to build walls around your calling, your future, who you were meant to be. It gives hesitation the microphone when conviction should be speaking. It gives excuses time to disguise themselves as logic. We can talk ourselves out of anything, right? We can out-logic ourselves. It gives your old habits time to tighten their grip. It gives passivity a chance to pretend it's wisdom. You're like, oh, I'm waiting because that's wise, right? We tell ourselves that all the time. It gives resistance a window to grow roots. And it gives that lesser self just enough room to take control again. And that doesn't sound like anywhere that we want to be, right? So, if you delay the action, the things that you want to do, and you want to do it, how many times do we end up regretting that? We never regret typically doing stuff and deciding to bet on ourselves, right? We like doing the things and doing it messy, even if it's not perfect, is so much more impactful. You'll learn quicker. You will get to where you want to be by doing action, as opposed to just like procrastinating. Procrastinating and just thinking doesn't get you places, right? Like we need to do the things. And sometimes doing the things is really tough. And this is where, your coaches are here to support you. Because sometimes it can feel tough as like, what do I do? But we'll tell you. And then a lot of you sometimes are just like, just like didn't really do it, or didn't really catch it this week, right? But you got to figure out, why are you doing this? What's that deep why? Because mine is not to have my mom's story be mine. Because if that's my story, my life is already 3/4 done. The average woman lives to 81. Midlife then is 40. Most of us here are over 40. That would mean our life is half over. What do you want the last half of your life to look like? 1 in 3 women end up in a nursing home. Would you rather take the time to do things right, so that instead of using your retirement savings to pay for a nursing home? Or would you rather use your retirement savings to travel with your family, spend time with them, do the things you've always wanted to do? This is what this is all about. Yes, we want to lose weight. Totally understand that. That's why we're here, right? But so many of us just like don't do things because we're like, not doing it perfectly enough. We need to see that improvement, encouraging you to keep doing it, keep trying, seeing that improvement week to week, planning, taking time out of your day to slow down. Like, we have answers here for you, right? And so we don't want to see you be one of those women that's in a nursing home, right? We want to see you be the grandma that's traveling and is on the playground with your kids, thinking long term, because we are so caught up in, I want to lose this weight in 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be. But the methods you've used in the past, I'm not going to get into the sciencey stuff of it, right? We talk about this on the podcast all the time, but now you're in a place where there's more inflammation and our body can't get into that fat burning pathway appropriately anymore, which means like inflammation goes up more, risk of chronic diseases like cancer and, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, those all start increasing drastically. And it already happens when our hormones start to fluctuate, right? And so we want to make sure that, yes, we get you to your goal, but we do it in a place where you're not trading off, nursing home life versus traveling with your family and spending time with your grandkids' life. Because that's ultimately what happens a lot. Is when we're doing that chronic dieting and all those things, we end up in this place where, we can't get into that pathway that we need for health. And so people do with things the extreme way, the wrong way. And now you're trading things off because we're losing that muscle mass. We're, having to do extreme things to try and get into fat loss. And that's not a place that's sustainable. And so think about, where do you want to be? Because for many of us, if we only live to 81, how many more summers do we have left? How many more vacations with our family do we have left? Those are things that you have to think about. And so that's why the urgency of actually doing the things matters so much. But you have to decide, like, are you going to take that action, or are you going to let that old version of yourself be the future version too? Because we don't want to see that for you, right? And the last part is, integrity means finishing what you said you would do, right? Do not take a long time to follow through on your promises. We have no problem dropping everything to keep promises to other people. What if you kept the promises to yourself? How different could your life be? Promises without follow through erode your confidence, right? If you didn't say what you were going to do to someone else, they no longer trust you. Most of us don't trust ourselves. So what if you kept even half the promises to yourself that you did to somebody else, right? We want to have that integrity. It's when your words and your actions match up, but we end up delaying because we're afraid. We have some pride, maybe some perfectionism, maybe. We need to kill those by making the choice to do the things today, right? So what's the thing that you've promised yourself to yourself, but you haven't done yet? Why are we waiting, right? Maybe there's something you can think of right now. You're like, oh man, my coach said this, today is the day. I'm deciding to do the things, right? And so I know this is a little bit intense of a conversation, but it's a conversation I've been having with a lot of people, or that we're seeing it start to trend in this direction. And I don't want my mom's story to be anybody else's story. I don't want it to be my story. I don't want to be the one out of the 3 friends that's in a nursing home. I want to be the one hiking with my kids on my 80th birthday, and my grandkids. I want to be there for all the things. I want to be the fun grandma. I want to be the one that's at the soccer game, walking alongside them, right? Or if they're running track, jogging alongside them when they're coming around the track. I don't want to be the one that has to watch the replays from Facebook on an iPad. That's not what I want. I want to be there, and I want to really be there. And so when we're talking about making decisions for success, you have to remind yourself that every decision is killing off that old version of you. And that's exciting just as much as it's scary. But being afraid and being excited is both having faith in the future of something that you have no idea if it's going to happen. So are you choosing to have faith that something bad is going to happen, that you're not going to reach your goals, that you're not going to lose the pounds by X date? Or are you going to have faith that you're going to be here for the long haul and do the things and live a great life and have all the memories and be in all the pictures? What do you want to have faith in? What do you want to believe in? One leads to excitement, optimism. One leads to fear, right? So we're deciding to kill that old version of ourselves. We are deciding to be grateful instead of resentful and focusing on everything that's bad. Instead, we're focusing on everything that is good. We are taking urgent action. We don't want to waste any more time. Most of us are past that midlife point of 40, right? We don't have time. So the time to make those decisions to be able to be that person you want to be at 80 matters. And then have integrity and trust in yourself. Prove to yourself that you have the confidence to keep promises to yourself just as much as you do for anyone else. I can tell you with my whole heart, I would have been fine if my mom would have let me down a few times to be a little bit more selfish. Because her being more selfish would have meant she would have been here for a few years, and I would give anything for her to be here for a few more years. I would have gotten over the fact if I didn't get certain things, if I didn't, play certain sports, I would have got over those things. But not having her here, that's hard. So remember that about yourself. Your kids, I don't remember how much my mom weighed. I don't remember what size of clothes she wore. I don't think about any of that stuff. What I think about is the great memories, her laugh, how she was, but I also think of all the stuff that she's missing. So I don't want that to be your story. And so I hope that kind of gives you some oomph. I hope that gives you a little bit of what you needed to trust the process, to jump in, to make the changes. Because yes, I want to see you be where you want to be by the time you want to be there, whether that's 3 months or 6 months or a year. But I'm sorry, I care way more about where you are when you're 80. That's what I care about, truthfully. And I'm totally honest about that. Yes, we'll get you to where you want to be, but I am not doing it at the sacrifice of taking years off your life. I want you to be where you want to be, where you're 80. I can guarantee you none of us want to be in a wheelchair, in a nursing home, nothing like that. We want to be living by ourselves, independent, being asked to watch the grandkids instead of having the kids have to come and sit and potentially play some cards with you at the nursing home, and then that's it. And they visit once a month. It's a very different life. And I've seen it in my family. And I know which one I want. So I hope that's helpful. I know it's a little heavy, but it's a conversation I've really wanted to have for a long time. I love you all so much. And here's to kicking butt at 80. Have a good rest of your Monday. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. For those of you who are in the challenge, the kickoff call is going to be next week. We still have people joining and getting everyone set up for that stuff. But I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.